Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I'm your host, Mr. Kadish. Get it right. And I'm going to introduce our fantastic panel of nerds. But first, I just want to apologize to everyone because Brian from the Popcast is not going to be joining us today. He had his birthday yesterday, and he did a birthday stream. He went for 6 hours, overdid it, and called in sick 2 minutes before we were set to go live to say, "Oh, brother, sorry. I'm not going to be able to make it today." But we do have some very special guests for our fantastic panel, including Matt Vader, who likes to drink right into the mic with his ice clinking. How you doing, Matt?
That wasn't me. What are you talking about? I'm docking Brian extra points today. Extra points. He called out, but didn't give us 2 hours notice. So, I'm gonna have to write him
2 minutes notice.
I'm gonna have to write him up. I'm gonna send a letter to HR and put something in his file. I'm not very happy with him right now. So yeah. Good morning, everybody. Hello, chat.
I'm
Drinking.
Good to be here.
I'm not caffeinated. I don't know if my coffee is gonna work. I don't know if caffeine has a time limit before it's ineffective. But I had this coffee sitting in my fridge from a week ago. And I drank it. I'm drinking it's old coffee. It's nasty.
It's definitely going to work.
So it's either going to kill me or not work at all. I don't know which, but I drove up to the coffee shop a little while ago and there was like 20 cars behind. And I just said, nope, I'm not doing it. But it was here. So if I just die on camera, it'll be a thing. So whatever.
Well, the good news here is that Tom Connors Jr. is in the chat, and I'm going to send him the link.
Oh, good.
To come join us. So Tom will be our pinch hitter as usual. But as I do that, I'm going to introduce and welcome back the All-Father himself with his shelves and his love of pineapple pizza and his brand new baby girl, Odin. Thank you so much for being here today. Welcome back. We've missed you. And but you've been gone for a good reason. Why don't you tell everyone what all that's about?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's great to be back. I've definitely been missing my Salty Saturdays. I've been trying to listen in when I can, and I was actually just listening to y'all's brilliant conversation about The Shining from this past week, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm just getting to Mr. Kadish's part where he's defending the very solid film that is The Shining. However, I do appreciate every single nitpick and every single complaint against the movie because it just makes me. That's what I love about nerddom is that you can still enjoy it, right? Even if you love a movie or hate a movie, it's like there's still that enjoyment in the conversation back and forth. But yeah, I've been out because we had a baby girl. Who we're calling Baby Sif on YouTube, and she has just turned 4 weeks yesterday and still not quite sleeping as well as we would like, but definitely sleeping a lot better than she was the first couple of weeks. And we're very happy. We're very excited. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's happy. Baby Thor is doing well. He's been a very good big brother. He doesn't fully understand the concept yet. Like it's mostly like certain games, I guess, where it's like, hey, do you want to go and get her passy, and do you want to go and help feed her? And he's like very gentle with his pats and stuff. It's very sweet. So it's been fun. But yeah, I've been out, and so was able to jump on for about 45 minutes on Friday Night Tights yesterday, and then had to leave because it was like I literally have to go and pick up my son, so I can't just wait for can't wait for my moment because it's usually I'm waiting for 30 minutes anyway. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna head out. And so Extra Girl was like, hey, you coming back? I was like, no, I put it in the chat, but no one reads my chat, so okay, it's fine. It's fine. But I'm glad to be back. Thanks as always for having me and for continuing to rock it on Saturday mornings.
Yes, well, your shelves are looking very steady in the background, so it's good to see that.
I sure hope so. I don't want them to fall again. That would not be good.
Holding their weight.
Yeah.
And the first time on Salty Saturdays, we welcome Smitty from Smitty Snippets. Fantastic channel. Smitty, first of all, congratulations on hitting 1,000 subs. Those first 1,000s are a pain in the ass.
Yes, they are.
The
thank you.
grind is real. You have an excellent channel that we found for our love of hating on a show called Invasion. You're the only other channel out there actually covering it besides us. And so we felt like you were a fellow brother in arms, and we wanted to have you on Salty Saturdays. And hopefully our audience will go and subscribe to your channel because it's an excellent channel. You do good work over there. But welcome, Smitty. Why
Thank
don't you
you.
tell everyone a little bit about yourself and where they can find you?
I'm on YouTube. I started probably about 2 years ago, and Invasion seemed to be the thing that everybody wanted to talk about. So I'm just doing that, and yeah, that's about it. There's not a lot to my story. I'm surprised that anybody actually wants to talk to me face to face. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here, and we got a lot to talk about today. But before we get to that, I just want to shout out everyone in the chat. We got Anthony Mark, who is always first in the chat. Good to see you, Anthony. We have Truth is Forever, Cocho Dragon, Rec Thoughts, Rec Films Montana, Gavin Blackburn, the super sticker master himself. We got Thrasher 613. We got Wendy Hunter, JD Moe. We got Def Row TV and Def Row. We got Christopher Mays, Shannon Devon, Mr. Farnsworth, Keely Chow, Jeremy Turner. Who else do we got in the chat? We got OMB Reviews is in the chat. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. Mexican Iron Man, Doomed Huh. We got Tom Connors, who I did send you that link, Tom, so hopefully you can hop on in a little bit. And Mighty Orbots is also in the chat. And Mephisto's Movie Reviews, who I'm going to be on his channel immediately after this stream ends, so be sure to check that out as well. Yeah, guys, thank you all so much for being here. Studio Lau is also here. Bob Dorsey, good to see you, Bob. Let's see here. Adrian Dak Virtual. Okay. Tomes, Danny's mom, Penny. Guys, thank you all so much.
Wait, how did you pronounce that name? The virtual one? How did you pronounce that?
Danny's mom, Penny?
No, the virtual one.
Adrian Dak Virtual.
Adirondack?
Adirondack Virtual.
The Adirondacks? You haven't heard of the Adirondacks? The mountains?
I have not. No.
Okay. Be cultured, dude. It's East Coast, so I mean, I guess that makes some sense.
He's so embarrassing sometimes. I swear to God.
I am the destroyer of words. I do not pronounce anything correctly. You should know this by now.
You ever heard of the Cascade Mountains? Nope. What about Mount Everest? Never heard of that one either.
What's the Apachadalta?
The Mississippi Super River. Yeah,
the Mississippi River.
Everyone became a geography expert. Okay. All right, real quick, want to give a shout out to our top donators. We got William Forbus, sitting pretty, still yet dethroned with his $500 super chat. But, of course, we got Scotty Dub, Bob Dorsey, and the AstroNerdBoy. We have Joker's Voice and Mexican Iron Man, who are still our most consistent donators. Really appreciate the support. And our big gifters, WG and Jillian N. Thank you all so much for gifting those Salty Nerd memberships here on YouTube. And of course, Scotty Dub is still our top contributor overall. Does a really great job supporting the channel. And we really appreciate those things, guys, more than you know. Our goal today is to get 5 new YouTube memberships. So if we can hit that goal, that'll be good. And also, if you have a chance, give us a rating on Apple Podcast. We're trying to get 200 5-star reviews so that we can apply to be official movie critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Although I believe Alex is moving us more towards the Criticless app than Rotten Tomatoes. Odin, you've been on Criticless for a while. What do you think of that app?
I'm freaking loving it. Y'all were the ones that introduced it to me, and ever since,
in fact, you tried to review shame me earlier. Where you're
I
like,
did,
dude. Why aren't you reviewing more movies?
Because I was like, wait, Kadish hasn't reviewed this yet. What's going on? And I'm like, how many total reviews? What, 6 reviews? What in the world is this?
Pretty lame.
Lame. Yeah.
Pretty lame.
Yeah, well,
and the first one I saw was see my full review on this other place.
That's not a review when you do it that way.
The full review was on our YouTube channel. Thank you.
I figured
just for the record, writing a 3-sentence synopsis with "Go watch my review" is not a review. That's not how you do it.
You know, Vader, you can handle all the producing duties.
I wasn't really talking about you.
I'll actually have time to write reviews on Criticless.
Do we want to flash back to those days when Kadish was off?
We can do it, but we'll have 12 people watching the show in about a month. So yeah.
So Vader, you can be the official producer of the Salty Nerd podcast going forward. Take care of all that stuff for me.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to change my title.
Real quick, we want to welcome once again to the show Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge.
Those
How
are
you doing,
some
buddy?
spicy bull's balls. If you want to
Sorry,
meet that will fill
I
your
may hit a
mouth,
button.
grab Brahma's bull's balls.
That was an accident.
Wow, promise
Available
Bulls.
in your local dairy aisle
Yeah,
and back
that's
alleys.
for Comics Division show.
That's
I
a
love
hell of
that.
an
Sorry
intro.
about that.
That's awesome.
That
Hell
was
of an
Brahma's
intro.
Bulls balls available. No. Hi.
Go follow Brahma Bull, everybody. It's a great channel. He's a good dude.
Yeah. Brahma Bull represent.
That's right.
All right, guys. Tom, thank you so much for filling in for our very irresponsible co-host, who
Sorry about
gives
that.
us 2 minutes of warning that he's not going to show up. But always happy to have you on the show. I always feel like Tom's slumming it when he comes on our episodes.
He is.
Yeah. But guys, we got a lot to talk about today, so why don't we get right to it? First of all, we're going to talk about how Brie Larson is supposedly done with Captain Marvel. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, so this has been kind of coming out recently at the head of the release of the Marvels.
Return? I mean, really?
What's that?
Does anybody really want her to return? I mean, really? Do they?
No.
Probably not.
See
but-
that interview?
But she, yeah, I saw that. But basically, she's become disillusioned with her big budget superhero gig, and it is kind of interesting to see. Like, she was contracted for 7 appearances, which included movies and cameos and stuff like that. I think that she's kind of at the end of that commitment right now, and it looks like she might not be renewing that because apparently, not only did they take away the sequel from her to add in other characters, but basically, like, as this article puts it, the toxic backlash from fans has been affecting her mentally. But there's a lot of interesting stuff to get into that article. But before we do, I also want to welcome another gentleman who agreed to kind of pitch in to help replace Brian for today's episode, which is Charles Akeke, author
everyone.
extraordinaire and Game of Thrones expert as well.
Yes.
Charles, thank you so much for pinch hitting for us as well today.
Sure.
Glad to have you on the show.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes,
I
Okay,
can
sir.
hear you just
Sweet.
fine.
Perfect. Great to be here.
All right. So, guys, this whole thing with Brie Larson, I think everyone knows that she's kind of fake. She's a fame chaser, and she kind of goes with like whatever's trendy to try to, get in front of it. I think like the whole Me Too thing, she latched onto that because that's just what she did in order to make it in Hollywood. And the backlash from that has never left her. And so like she's just been having a terrible time here in Hollywood. And she doesn't like where everything's going. She won an Oscar. That was kind of the pinnacle of her career. And since then, nobody seems to really like working with her or anything like that. So, but Tom Connors, I know that for a fact that you kind of have some insight into, what's been going on with Marvel and Brie and stuff like that. So why don't you give us a breakdown of where her mental state is?
Well, I mean, clearly she's, she's not too happy. We can tell from that interview I was goofing about earlier. It was a quick snippet, but just her reaction to the question, you could really sense a lot of her feelings at that point. I mean, she brought a lot of this on herself. I've never thought she was that great of an actress. She brought up the fact that she won an Oscar for a movie that nobody watched. I mean, more people watched the Tommy Wiseau Room than watched her Room.
Yeah.
And no, that's right. I bet you facts, hashtag facts. I bet you. And that kid was a better actor than her. I'm just sitting here watching the movie going, how did she win the Oscar when the kid's acting circles around her? And I'm just like, yeah. And then her comments about critics and her comments towards, white men in general. And then the way she comes into YouTube thinking she's going to just do what she does and nobody's going to have a problem with it. And you could tell it was getting to her just from her own comments. So yeah, I'm not surprised at this at all. And we all kind of figured just by prediction that she'd be upset that she's not the star of the second Captain Marvel movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of this is real. We've heard similar things in the past. So yeah, a lot of this stuff that's coming out, I find very believable.
Yeah. Odin, they've been kind of talking about doom and gloom for the Marvels in terms of box office and stuff like that. And I think that if this thing underperforms even worse than what they're expecting it to, that I think Brie's definitely going to take that as a sign that her days as a superhero are over and kind of move on, especially since so many other actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and stuff like that have moved on from Marvel. What's your take on this?
Well, it just brings me back and gives me a flashback to when Captain Marvel's box office came out and everyone was trying to point out, it's like, oh, this shows how popular that she is and how amazing this movie is because it made over $1 billion. And people just, of course, just forgetting the fact that it was basically the setup for Endgame and that it got all the promotion as being that film, right? To be the one that everyone was kind of getting ready for, that it was going to be important to watch before Endgame came out. And sure enough, that was enough to push it over the edge in that way. And so I think this is the one that's really the test. And based off of the early estimates that are coming out, the early tracking numbers, this film is set to be one of the worst box office performers of this year and one of the worst box office performers, possibly even of the MCU in just the grand scheme of the MCU. And since it's going to be probably having cost, because anything these days in the MCU is going to be probably a minimum of $200 million, you're looking at a film that's going to have to be able to get, $500 to $700 million worldwide to break even. And the numbers domestically are not really showing themselves to be all that impressive, and I can't imagine that internationally it's going to do all that much better. So I am not surprised at all to hear this news about Brie because of all these other things going on. But at the same time, I also wouldn't hold my breath and I wouldn't bet on this. And the reason why is because we know that this has happened in previous franchises and with previous actors where this was supposed to be the end for them, and then all of a sudden the opportunity came up, the money was right, and they were able to come back. And it just seems to me that Disney is not looking to move away from the direction that they've been pushing their universe. It doesn't look like they are letting off the gas, as it were, pushing the MCU stuff, right? We've seen that continue on in Loki. We've continued to see that in pretty much every project that they've been doing. And because I see that, I personally just don't think that they're going to let her go without a fight. So she might be showing herself to be disillusioned. Keep in mind as well that the actors are still on strike, and so we don't really have a lot of up-to-date information like live. She's not going around having to give her pitch about the movie. Maybe that might ultimately also be why we're hearing some of these things now, because since she's not basically under contract to have to say nice things about a movie, maybe we're starting to hear some truth about what's actually being felt behind the scenes. But yeah, I'm one of those persons where if she actually quit and she stuck with it, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm someone that I enjoyed her performance in Room. I thought it was a really solid performance. Was it the best performance of that year? I wouldn't go that far, but it was a solid one nonetheless. And so if she somehow got this as an opportunity to go back to doing indie movies, like Short Term 12, another film that she did that actually was pretty good. If she goes back to doing stuff like that, you know what? Maybe it'll be better for her in the long run, but we'll have to wait and see how things go, and if they're going to continue to push the MCU. If they do, I think that they're going to try to keep her on.
Well, hopefully the news of the shakeup over at Marvel is true and they start moving away from this. But that brings me to Smitty, because Smitty, one of the things that Brie Larson famously said, and it was a different movie, it was Wrinkle in Time, I believe, but she said this movie wasn't for you old 40-year-old white guys. And basically she just fired a warning salvo over the entire target demographic of the Marvel movies. And I don't think she's ever recovered from that. What do you think? Do you think that because dudes are so turned off by her, like they're just not going to show up for the Marvels?
Well, I'm a 47-year-old black guy, so I did not. I didn't like it.
Wait,
And
he's black?
What?
I had no idea.
What?
Rise.
What are you talking about?
Does your mom know?
I thought you just had a. I just thought you just had a perm.
I do think, Matt, you need to put CC on over where Odin is so we can have like a gradient thing going on.
Okay. All right. How's that?
Oh man,
that works out really well.
Oh Lord.
It's like the background, but in reverse. It's
You
really
people.
nice.
Yes.
You people.
Smitty, I just thought you were really tan, man. What's going on?
I tricked you. I got all of you. Bam. Yeah, she's.
I just
she
thought he
wasn't
was
good in the
Asian.
role. The story was bad. It was like the whole thing was horrible, and it's not all her fault. It's just not. It wasn't a role that she could play, I don't think. And she received all the backlash for the direction that the movie went, for how it was told and everything, and it just wasn't good. I don't think any of it since then has been any good. So while it's not on all on her, she's taking the brunt of it. And I mean, sometimes you just gotta own up. Sometimes you gotta just say the movie wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I know she feels bad that everyone should like this movie, or they shouldn't be coming down hard on it. But it's not just old white men that don't like it. Like, a lot of Marvel fans don't like this movie, and
Like 47-year-old black men.
yeah, we don't like it either. You know, you take a poll, we don't like it either.
I knew it.
So,
You know, Charles, like, you are a brilliant author of superhero fiction. A lot of your novels are about superheroes. And so, like, you know superhero drama better than anyone. And one of the problems I think most people have with Captain Marvel is like, she's a Mary Sue. She's a character who's so powerful. Like, how could you ever possibly defeat her, right?
So,
And yeah, go ahead.
So basically, you know, just to give a little background, I actually was a fan of Brie Larson before Captain Marvel because, you know, the first thing I saw her in was Scott Pilgrim. I was like, oh, she was actually good there. Short Term 12, thank you for bringing that up, Smitty. That was actually that was probably the best thing I'd seen her in. And also just in interviews I'd seen her in before all that, I liked her personality. She seemed kind of fun. She seemed kind of like a bit nerdy. You know, I saw her on Craig Ferguson, but he brings the best out of a lot of women. So there's that. But I think getting the Oscar got to her head a little bit. She got a little too much Kanye fiddance there. And I think also, you're right, Smitty. I completely agree. She was miscast for Captain Marvel. I think that if I was going to cast somebody, it probably would have been a Charlize Theron or maybe a Yvonne Strahovski. She would have been perfect, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, the movie was. Can we cuss here, or are we avoiding that?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. The movie was, to quote Stone Cold Steve Austin, it was the drizzling shits. Let's just be honest, it was, and it was basically, like you said, you know, just in terms of superhero, the thing that people like when it comes to superhero fiction, they want to be on the ride. They want to see this person overcome their flaws, overcome their demons, become a better version of themselves.
But
Even
she overcame the patriarchy.
Ugh, God, I know. I think that the problem with a lot of these, you know, DEI movies, if you will, is that instead of growing as a person, instead of becoming a better version, it's just like, no, it was always within you. You don't have to change. You have no flaws. You're perfect already. And it's just like, no, that's not how it works. And also, you're right. They made her way too powerful. Like, that was her, like, binary form. She should have been at Miss Marvel levels. Like, that would have been much more interesting. And also the fact that I'm not going to go full nerd here on this, but basically, by gender swapping Marvel and making that a non-factor, that was dumb. That was stupid, and it didn't work. I think if you'd had her at an acceptable power level, that could have been more intriguing. Now, going back to what she said, I think it was 2018 at some Crystal Foundation situation. Yeah, it was stupid. I think it was dumb what she said. It was, and then of course there was the Endgame press tour, which was pretty bad, you could tell. But I really feel that it was blown out of proportion, and she did get an undue amount of hatred, particularly from the internet. Like, just a lot of videos you saw, just like they kept hammering, like 5 years later, they're still talking about that thing. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude, seriously? Like, and I'm not like saying I'm like a big stan of hers, but it got to the point where it's just like, okay, that happened 5 years ago. Like, if she'd said something recently or kept saying the same thing or just some variation of it, I completely get it. But I'm just like, after a while, it's just like, okay, lay off of it. You know? Yeah.
Her movie's coming out pretty soon, so we got to talk about her.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I completely understand that. I think that, and I know that there was, you guys didn't bring this up. There was a failed attempt, I guess it was failed, to make good with the fanboys with her. You guys remember the Jimmy Kimmel appearance, right?
Nope.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? You don't?
When she showed off what seemed to be like a boob job kind of thing.
Oh, it's definitely a boob job.
Yeah.
Oh, she was the host or something, right?
Yeah, the host with the Golden Globes. And yeah, but I feel that if she wants to go back to do something that makes her happy, something that's more low key, something that allows her to do kind of just work on her craft, all power to her. She's made her money. maybe this was just not the best career move in terms of like how it did for her publicity. But I just feel that it just didn't work out for a lot of reasons. The movie wasn't good.
I feel like Brie Larson is a quintessential clout chaser. Like she's someone who basically tries to adapt with whatever the current thing is, and then she gets pissed off when she comes off as inauthentic and it doesn't work. You know, Matt Vader, her movie grossed, the first Captain Marvel grossed over $1 billion, but it was sandwiched in between, you know, like the build up for Endgame or I should say Infinity War. And basically there were a lot of rumors that she was going to be a very important part of that movie. And so people turned out for that film expecting a lot of stuff. And it just ended up kind of neutering, you know, Sam Jackson's character. What's his name? Nick Fury. I wanted to say Nick Cage, but I knew that wasn't right. And her movie came out around the same time as Alita Battle Angel, which you've recently gotten into again. And it feels like that movie deserves more of a sequel than Captain Marvel should.
Well, Alita does deserve more of a sequel than the Captain Marvel movie does, and it's going to get hopefully 3 of them pretty soon. But you know, first off, I'm just so happy that we finally have something to snip out and make a video of talking about Brie Larson, because it's guaranteed to get at least 20,000 hits and views. I'm assuming, because we're going to put Brie Larson on there with a really stupid thumbnail, her probably like choking on something or something weird, you know, when it's all said and done. But you know, all this said and done, you know, I kind of hope she retires and goes back to her YouTube channel, because I cannot get enough of watching her daily stretching routine that she does on her channel. I have to go back and watch it, you know, every once in a while, just to remind myself of her amazingness. You know, it's got 482,000 views on her YouTube channel, and she hasn't posted anything in 9 months. You know, so
yeah. Well, that goes back to her authenticity, right? Where like she does these videos, she's like, "Oh, I'm so shy on camera." It's like, you're an actress, shut up.
Yeah.
And like she basically did that during lockdown.
Yeah,
and like there was nothing else for her to do.
Her stretching routine is epic. We should all try to be more like Brie.
Well, don't forget, she did her own stunts, right? It was so impressive.
Stunts, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
She pulled that Jeep, remember?
Yeah.
She's the strongest Avenger.
And she definitely. She's the strongest superhero of all time ever. And
she pulled the Jeep while in neutral.
She told that guy to give her his keys and boots and motorcycle. That was pretty cool.
The sad thing about it is that I just felt that Carol Danvers in the comic books was such an integral part of the superhero community even before she became Captain Marvel, because that was a train wreck though in the comics too. But she just had this kind of a bit of a swagger to her that was just completely absent from the films, which is unfortunate. You know, this was somebody who was like drinking buddies with like Wolverine, and just like had just this cachet and had this how do I say it? Had this credibility amongst that was just lacking here. We're just supposed to be like, oh, she's awesome just because she didn't flinch when Thor threw a hammer or caught his hammer near her. It's just, really? Come on.
Yeah, her stretching routine was not made for 40-year-old white men.
Well, she shouldn't put it out there then.
What about for me, though? Was it made for me, though?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Come on.
Well, I think all we have to say to her is we don't care what 30-something-year-old white women do in superhero movies.
But I think overall, like Brie Larson and just the direction of, just basically Phase 4 and what we've seen of Phase 5, clearly, they're suffering for their arrogance. What they're doing.
Honestly, I want to see Brittany and her knives in a superhero outfit.
Oh, gosh.
Jesus Christ.
She'd kick all their asses.
Oh man,
that would be interesting.
That would be sick.
I think we're seeing the numbers play out though, because I just double checked them, and the projections right now from Box Office Pro on the entire domestic run, the average of the entire domestic run for the Marvels coming up is expected to be the opening weekend of the first Captain Marvel domestic. So it'll make the entirety of the opening weekend of Captain Marvel 1 in the entirety of its run, according to Box Office Pro.
The thing is that this is an interesting thing, because Captain Marvel, the first one, was basically riding the coattails of the success of the MCU at this point. And the Marvel will essentially be riding the coattails of the nadir of the MCU at this point. So it's going to be an interesting barometer about where like Marvel is as a franchise. We already know, but it's going to be like Stark playing. You cannot ignore like, okay, you're in serious trouble.
I mean, I don't honestly believe in like movie fatigue. I think as long as movies are good, people will turn out for them. And so like this idea that Marvel's failing because of superhero fatigue.
Oh, no.
Ring true to me. Yeah, because it basically just comes down to the fact that Marvel hasn't had a plan since Endgame, and everything that they've done has not been for their core audience. And so nobody's showing up for these movies. Nobody cares about them, right? But what we do care about are super chats. And so I just want to highlight Mexican Iron Man for $10. Dear Hollywood, stop using brown-skinned, deranged, crazy Latinas chicks for white guilt woke storytelling. Thank you for your casting cooperation.
I think I know what we're talking about here. But even back to what you're saying, Matt, and I agree with you. I completely agree. It's not superhero fatigue. I think it's just after a while, when you've had superheroes, people have expectations. People want like you can do subdivisions within the superhero genre. But I think more than anything, you hit the nail on the head is that they're forgetting their core fan base, their core competency. Their core fan base is males, whether you want to admit it or not. Chasing after some genre, something, a demographic that doesn't exist, will only lead to failures. Look at, Picard season 1, which was terrible. But at the end of the day, superheroes, it's a power fantasy, whether it be for mainly for males, but also for women. Male superheroes, guys want to be them, women want to fuck them. If you notice that. Female superheroes, guys want to fuck them, women want to look like them. It's that simple. You can't have them dressing like nuns in your fucking movies. That's not going to work.
You're being so dirty.
Yeah, Charles, stop being such a misogynist.
Starting to make me think we need some soap on this channel for people's mouths.
I'm just being perfectly honest.
It's not.
It's the truth, and you guys all know it. Is that
right, real quick? For £2, we got a super sticker from Gavin Blackburn. Thank you, Gavin. And we also have $10.
Yes.
Are you saying we're getting a Vader stretch routine?
Oh boy, I want to see
that's
that.
on your personal channel.
Hey, you know what? When I get back in the gym, because I'm gonna I'll turn into a gym bro Instagram channel guy. How about that?
If my white sweater gets its own Twitter account, we need a Vader stretching channel.
Well, you're definitely going to get an IG account for that white sweater, Charles.
Daily squats with Vader. That's going to be great.
All right, guys. So speaking of drama and toxicity, let's talk about the big thing that's in everyone's YouTube ear right now, which is SSSniperwolf, Doxes, JacksFilms. For those of you who aren't hip to the jive here, so like there's
no idea what you just said right now.
There's one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform named SSSniperwolf, and she's big on reaction content. And another big YouTuber named JacksFilms has been taking her to task because basically it's very lazy content. She keeps stealing other people's content to react to and not crediting them. And so he created a competing channel in order to basically give the creators their due credit, of the content that Sniperwolf was reacting to. But her reactions are actually just explainers, like somebody like eat a chocolate bar and she'll be like, "Oh my God, he's eating a chocolate bar." She's not even reacting to anything. She's just narrating what's happening on screen.
Yeah, but
and she'll actually steal jokes. So like there'll be a joke in the TikTok she's reacting to, and she'll cut right before it gets to that joke, and then she'll use the joke from that TikTok in as her reaction. And there's even been evidence that she doesn't actually watch the videos. Like somebody just types up what she needs to say, and she's just reading it from the screen, and it says react like this and then say this. And so she's not even watching these videos to react to them. But for whatever reason, YouTube loves Sniperwolf, and they've been giving her preferential treatment for a long time now. In fact, if you log into the YouTube homepage under a incognito browser or what have you, so you're not logged into your stuff, chances are you'll see at least one of her videos recommended to you on the general YouTube homepage. And she's got tens of millions of subscribers. Her videos are very popular, and yet JacksFilms has been very consistently criticizing her. And what happened the other day was that she actually went to Jack's house uninvited and then posted a picture of it with his address and everything
on her Instagram, which has like 5 million followers or something like that. And so she basically doxed him, and he was live on stream when it happened. And so like there's actual footage of him out there reacting to her doxing. And then basically he went on Twitter and he basically said, YouTube, this is against your terms of service. She's put my family in danger by revealing our home address. You need to take action. You need to deplatform her. And so the entire YouTube community, even people who are, kind of like on Sniper Wolf's side, has said like, this was a bridge too far. She needs to be punished for what she did, because there's a lot of people out there who've been punished for a lot less, especially off platform, like our good co-host Brian from the Popcast. Their entire channel was demonetized for no good reason that YouTube could give them, for like 4 or 5 months before like they could appeal and like get it back. And so basically YouTube came out today and basically said that both parties were at fault and that Sniper Wolf has been temporarily demonetized. But when people dug into this using the vidIQ plugin, they found that only Sniper Wolf's most recent video was demonetized. All the rest of the videos on her channel are still monetized. And basically, YouTube's still playing favorites with her. And essentially, a lot of people who've been either banned or demonetized on YouTube for actions off the platform that weren't nearly as bad as what Sniper Wolf did are coming out of the woodwork and saying like, YouTube, what the fuck, right? So I want to start with Odin on this one. Odin, what's your take on this whole drama that's playing out here? And do you think YouTube plays favorites?
They absolutely do play favorites. I mean, as far as the drama goes, that's the kind of stuff I just don't care about as much. I just, kind of stay away from it. Though I do recognize that in cases like this, it does have a broader impact on anyone else who is on the platform and is a content creator, because it is kind of just exposing what you had just said. It's exposing that they are indeed picking favorites, and that this is something that, again, really isn't anything new. It's just, it's almost one of those double-edged swords things where it's bad because of what this person has done and how this is a problem that still continues to happen. But it's also a good thing in that it continues to expose it. And the more and more things like this happen, I think the more people kind of wake up to it, because we kind of see this in almost all entertainment space. Only people that are in the know, only people that are active on social media, only people that really, get into this and dive into the weeds know this stuff is kind of, know that this stuff is happening. Most normies don't have any idea, and most normies have no clue when this kind of stuff is happening. So that's why it's interesting when we, react to certain things. We're like, how are you not mad, or how do you not know what's going on? It's just because most people aren't plugged in. So yeah, I mean, again, I think that if this can bring more and more attention to just how broken YouTube system is and could possibly get us closer to change, that's great. I just don't think that's necessarily going to happen, because I think too many people who use the platform are just either not caring or living in limbo.
It is kind of interesting because like Sargon of Akkad famously got completely demonetized off YouTube and also got pulled off of Patreon for like an off-color joke that he made like years ago, off all the platforms. And I saw him respond to YouTube today by basically saying like, YouTube, why the double standard? I want to throw this to Smitty. Smitty, you're someone who just recently struggled to get to their first 1,000 subs on YouTube. It's a true grind. It doesn't get any easier after 1,000 subs, but now you're in the realm of, the ability to be monetized. Does it anger you that like YouTube seems to just say like, hey, if you're a woman, we're in your corner, but if you're a dude, we're going to hit you for even the smallest infraction?
It does. I think that what she did absolutely crossed the line. YouTube has a part to play in this, because they need to drop the hammer. Like, you have to discourage this type of behavior, and by them not doing anything to her tells them where they're what's important to them, and it's not the safety of their creators, because she turned this into a different kind of party. You could be upset with somebody all you want, and you can be mad at them, you could do whatever, but this is like punching your kid in the face. Like, there's certain lines you just don't cross. There's certain things you don't do. Coming to my house where my family sleeps is a no-no. So I completely understand why he was upset, but I'm disappointed in the way that YouTube handled this. There should have been a lot more done as far as, demonetizing one video. What is that for her? So like nothing. She'll make that up in 2-3 days. She'll be fine. It's like a slap on hand, not even. So yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm upset, but I think she did it to the right one, because you come to my house, it's going to be a different kind of something. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't think JacksFilms is going to let this go. And Charles, this stuff is very clear in YouTube's guidelines, where it's like they will hold you accountable if you put, parts of their community at risk off platform. And in fact, the Act Man, very, very popular video game YouTuber, just a couple months ago got his entire channel demonetized because he made a joke about doxing a YouTube employee on Twitter, right? Like it wasn't on platform. It was very obviously a joke, but someone at YouTube saw that because he was in the middle of a feud with another YouTuber, and they were going back and forth, throwing like legal accusations at each other. And basically YouTube said, we're going to demonetize your entire channel that you spent 3 years building up. And he had, he's a very big channel. And so he did eventually get remonetized and work things out with YouTube. But the fact that he was a dude who off platform made a joke, got his entire channel demonetized. SniperWolf very blatantly breaks the terms of service, puts a YouTuber and his family in jeopardy by doxing them. And it took them 7 days to address the issue. And then when they addressed it, not only did they call out SniperWolf, but they accused JacksFilms of having a part to play in this, where he didn't do anything, right? He was just criticizing her lazy content creation stuff. So what's your take on this, Charles?
Which is fair. It's freedom of expression. I've never heard of either of these people. I'll just be perfectly honest with you. But just on its face, I think that, that's just ridiculous. I mean, what's the other guy? Jax. He should not have been punished at all for any. I mean, JacksFilms. Thank you. He shouldn't have been punished at all. SniperWolf person, you're right. People have been demonetized or deplatformed for less than that, and that's just ridiculous. I don't understand what they're like. It just. I don't know, just just over the last couple of years, just the censorship has gone just so ridiculous. It's just like the littlest infraction or not promoting the narrative, then you get, demonetized or deplatformed. It's ridiculous. So,
yeah, Matt Vader, if SniperWolf wasn't a hot chick who did family-friendly content, and basically YouTube hadn't already been promoting her left and right, this would probably be a very different situation, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, bottom line is, you said she has 5 million subs, and she makes a lot of
on Instagram. On YouTube, I think she's got 30 million subs or something.
Oh my God! Well, there you go. That's why she makes them a lot of money. Yeah. So they're going to put a different standard to her than they do to us or anybody else out there. It's all about the cheddar. You know what I mean? And that's the bottom line. Plus, she's cute, so.
And the message.
There's that.
Is she?
Because you have to make money, and you also have to be in line with their thinking. Because if you're making money, or you could be making money, but they're not letting you because of they're demonetizing your entire channel or whatever it might be, then it's a different story. So
I mean, at some point, YouTube, Google, or whatever, they're gonna get taken to task, and it's going to probably take some Supreme Court rulings or something to figure everything out. But this is still all a real fairly new way of making money. It's the Wild West out there. It's unregulated for the most part, and right now YouTube can do whatever the hell they want. And I don't think it's going to be that way for forever. So, but we'll see. It's like, Tim Pool just got nailed with the strike. For commenting on a debate by Fox News. I don't know really how that relates, but it's just they had the wrong think. You know what I'm saying? So they got hammered. What do? People who have the wrong think are going to get taken down way quicker than people that align up with the status quo of the left. You know, so it's weird. It's a whole weird thing. So
Well,
the sad
Tom
thing,
Connors.
go ahead,
Go.
TZ.
Yeah. The sad thing is that YouTube at one point was created because of, hey, we want to be able to have a freedom of expression. Because some developer was pissed that he didn't see the wardrobe malfunction and he couldn't find anywhere online. So he's like, let me make a place where none of those moments get missed. And now it's like the littlest thing. It's become, I think, because it's now rolled up into the alphabet, it's now just become so corporate, and it's the wrong think is punished, or wrong gender is punished.
This isn't even wrong think, right? Like, she blatantly did something
to
put someone else in jeopardy that was against YouTube's terms of service and creator contract. So I want to go to Tom Connors on this. Tom, this comes down to an unequal enforcement of the rules on YouTube. And this is something that a lot of creators are kind of up in arms about, simply because, hey, you know, like, there seems to be a different standard of justice if you're a hot e-girl compared to like us doughy white guys who like will sit here and get demonetized for basically saying the word COVID in a live stream, right? Sorry, I just got a yellow $sign for us just by mentioning that word.
Good job, man. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. So Tom, what's your take on this? Do you think YouTube needs to be held accountable?
Well, see, here's where you're mistaken. It's about equity, not equality, Mr. Kadish. We're men, we have penises. That gives us an advantage in every aspect of life. We don't even have to sit down to pee, sir. Right? So here's the deal. Chicks have it rough. They get extra special treatment. Dudes don't. That's all there is to it. No, I agree with you guys 100% on this. I don't even know who these individuals are. Don't care who they are. Have zero fight in this at all. But at the end of the day, I agree with you guys that this is a bad precedent to set, especially for somebody who's blatantly not only violated YouTube's codes, just simple code of ethics, I would say, I guess, is no other way of putting it. Because like we said, you know, family, home addresses, these things used to be all completely off limits. And as somebody who's been, you know, a victim or whatever you want to call it of their own cancel campaigns, look, it's not easy or fun to deal with, especially when you got YouTube against you, right? Like, it's an uphill battle and nobody listens to you. And even these guys even have people that they talk to in YouTube. So that's what even makes me more curious about what happened behind the scenes. So, but other than that, I really, like I said, other than what comes of this, I have zero stake in this. So yeah.
And you know, this is the biggest story on YouTube right now, and I know some of you aren't as tuned into YouTube as others. But what surprises me about this is I honestly think that SSSniperwolf is just so kind of dumb and out of it that she didn't even realize what she was doing when she was like, you know, doing this stuff. I don't think she meant it maliciously, but I feel like, you know, she still needs to be held accountable for basically, you know, shooting out to her millions of followers, hey, you know, this is where this guy who's been giving me a hard time lives, because you know that there's going to be some crazy out there that in order to get her attention could go and do something, you know, horribly criminal to Jack and his family. So, but I want to get some super chats real quick. So,
I just want to go on record really quick because I'm checking out her channel right now, and I want to just say for the record, she's definitely cute.
Yes, so, she is very cute.
She's very cute.
She's also been arrested for armed robbery in the past.
Listen, the crazy chicks are the best ones. All right.
She's definitely crazy.
Not just robbery, but armed robbery.
The crazy chicks are way more fun. I didn't say put a ring on it. They're just, you know, they're way more fun.
She knows what she's doing.
We got $5 from Joker's Voice. November 8th, can't get here fast enough. This earnings call should be epic. # keep talking. Yeah, so I guess the next Disney's earning call is on November 8th.
I'll be able to make sure to check out Valiant and W-Dub's channel for those kind of things.
Fucking know-it-alls.
I know, man.
And we got $2 from Beard. Rules have to be equally applied or society dies. That's very true. There should not be a two-tier justice system. And we got a members chat from the Joker's Voice. Free speech for Gina. Crickets yet Terra strong. Free speech for Gina Carano.
Yeah.
right? But
I'm assuming
she got canceled for her free speech.
I
don't know.
I think it's a deep cut. I'm not sure.
I think what they're saying is they haven't done shit to Tara Strong, even though didn't she have to step out of some role, I guess, or something.
He made a comment later in the chat. So basically, it sounds like because I have not heard anything about Tara Strong, but his point is that everyone was up in arms and speaking on behalf of Gina Carano, but no one has done the same thing for Tara Strong.
Oh,
okay. Well, I know she said something. I don't know the context though.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about it.
I'll have to check
maybe
into
that's
that.
why. Maybe that's
she
why
had to,
people are
like-
speaking up.
Yeah.
All right, and from Bob Dorsey, I apologize for my bluntness, but why is anyone surprised by this? You're all on an authoritarian network. This has been going on for a while now. The double standard. Cite Sargon or Alex Jones. He's not wrong.
Nope, not at all.
That's why most of us multi-stream.
It's because
we want to give other people the ability to support us on alternate platforms, but at the same time, it's kind of goes back to what I was saying before about box office and stuff like that. Normies, unfortunately, normies just don't want to, either just don't know enough about it, or there is that convenience factor too. So that's why give them the option, but at the same time, give the other people the option too.
We are right this very second streaming on Rumble, Kick, Odyssey, and even Twitch. Right now, all kinds of different places you guys can go and watch this show.
But YouTube is pretty much an authoritarian platform. Like they may not overtly censor stuff, like pull your videos down, even though sometimes they do, but they will limit your ability to make money off of that. So like Russell Brand's a perfect example of this. He was accused for stuff like not even proven, right? Like it hasn't gone to court. He was just accused, and YouTube demonetized his entire channel for actions off platform, and yet SniperWolf blatantly does something that's not only illegal but against the terms of service, and she gets a slap on the wrist, right? So
not only
he's
that,
not wrong.
And also with Brand, he started criticizing a certain industry, and that's when these accusations, the unfounded accusations, came out.
Yep. And guys, speaking of dueling industries here, let's start talking about the news that the Daily Wire is producing their own Snow White live action movie in direct competition with Disney's Snow White and the Seven Magical Creatures live action movie. Or should we call it the Seven Diversity Hires? I forget.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this was kind of the big news that broke last week, which is that the Daily Wire is throwing their hat into the ring of children's entertainment. I guess they've got like a new network that's meant to, I think it's called Bent Key, which is meant to basically deliver wholesome children's programming to families that don't want to be inundated with political messaging for their kids, whether they agree with it or not. And so Daily Wire is a very well-known right-leaning YouTube channel and podcasting network, but their whole thing was like, hey, children shouldn't be indoctrinated, whether it be right or left. They just need to be told good stories with good morals, and let parents not worry that they're going to be having their kids be indoctrinated by radicals, whether it be right or left. And so they announced that they were going to be doing this with Brett Cooper, who's a former actress. She's one of the hosts of the Comments Section, which is an excellent podcast on Daily Wire. And basically, it's written by Jeremy Boring, who's a co-founder of the Daily Wire, and it looks it looks like a fairy tale. It looks interesting, but a lot of people came out and was like, oh well, if anyone doesn't think this isn't going to be political, they're lying to themselves and stuff like that. Matt Vader 74.
Yeah,
we've covered Rachel Zegler, who's the Latink Snow White from Disney's take.
Snow tan.
Yeah. So what do you think of the news that the Daily Wire is trying to do their own version of Snow White?
I think we should do our own version of Snow White.
Is that our next sketch?
Yeah, that could be our next sketch, and Alex can play Snow White. Snow trans.
I was thinking you were going to play.
No, my acting days got to take a break. I got to rotate him through a little bit. No, I think this is great. Let's be honest here for a second. Everybody's they're all like, oh no, we're just doing another version of Snow White because we can. But seriously, this is a huge troll. It's an absolute troll towards Disney. If they say it's not, that they're just putting out nice, wholesome family fare, might be true as well. But this is an absolute troll towards Disney. And I think it's brilliant, to be perfectly honest with you. Brilliant. I mean, just let Disney do all your marketing for you, right? And just put this out there and let all the people like us do your marketing for you. Same thing with the Gina Carano movie. Let us do all your marketing for you, and it'll do great. This movie is going to make tons of money. It's going to get tons of views. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And we don't even really know hardly anything about it, other than they put this little teaser trailer out there with Brett with her hair back looking like Snow White, I guess. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to go back and actually read the fairy tale at someday, because all I know about it is the cartoon that we had.
The ending is dumb.
When we were kids, personally, Snow White scared the shit out of me when I was a little kid. Just that witch freaked me out, man. And it was just, I don't think I've seen the movie in 40 years. Completely honest with you, I don't think I've seen it in 40 years. But yeah, I'm interested in this. I love what they're doing here. It's just easy marketing. Let's make a movie. But Daily Wire, anything they can do. They could put out left-wing Biden propaganda, and people are going to twist it up to be right-wing propaganda. It doesn't matter what they put out. It's going to be controversial, and I think they might as well use that to their advantage, I guess. But I'm looking forward to this movie. I think it's going to be fun. Let's see the battle of the Snow Whites and see which one comes out on top. So you know what? I bet it's going to be this one, because Disney's dead. People do not like Disney anymore. So it's going to be really interesting.
So Smitty, one of the big things about this movie that Disney's making, the live action Snow White remake, is basically they cast a Latina as Snow White. They changed the dwarves because of Peter Dinklage's comments to magical creatures, which run the gamut of race and sex and stuff like that. And basically they changed the whole thing from fairest of them all, from meaning better looking to more just. So what's your take on all the changes that Disney has made to the Snow White fairy tale?
Honestly, this is dumb as fuck. This is stupid.
There you go.
This is a cartoon for children. Children. No one gives a shit about political views when it comes to Snow White. Nobody gives a damn. The kids are going to watch this princess get saved by dwarves and a prince. I think I got my fairy tales right. I don't know. Maybe it is a prince. Maybe I don't know.
You did.
Does anyone care who has a hand in making this? You're gonna do too? That's stupid. Kids are gonna go watch this, have a good time, and they're gonna forget like an hour later. Nobody gives a fuck about Snow White and political views or anything. Just say the fairest of all. When you saw this originally, did you care about whether or not she said the fairest of all? Did you sit and say, "Oh, that's messed up"? Did you hear what she said? Nobody cared. Nobody gives a shit. They're just making this a thing. So I don't know. It's just way over the top. But I'll take 2 movies, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to go to Odin for this one, because Odin, like you're a religious man. You have strong family values. You don't like the direction Disney's been going in, and Daily Wire agrees with you, and they're like, hey, can we just not have some regular wholesome content for kids? So what's your take on them basically doing a competing Snow White movie?
I mean, I think that it's a good move, like just as far as like just general marketing goes, because there is all this attention being brought to the other Snow White, and so just them releasing that small teaser, right? In general, even again, positive or negative, like one could argue what's going to get more like clicks. Is it going to be more negative attention? Is it going to be more positive attention? It's still going to be attention, right? And there is something to be said. It's not a universal rule, but there is something to be said that there's no such thing as bad press, right? That bad press can in ways be good press because it just gets you more exposure, gets you more attention. I've heard so many different comments already been made about this teaser trailer that's already come out, and I've heard I've already been having conversations with some people in the chat about it, like people saying, oh well, she can't act, or she's a failed actress, and it's like, I always hate when I hear things like that, because it's like, wait, what do we define a failed actor or actress as someone who didn't become a megastar? Because there are literally the vast majority of any working actor does not become a megastar. They're literally working actors. Yeah, exactly. And she continued acting all the way up until 2020. Like that was when she started to actually, shift away, mostly because of COVID. So it's basically like the concept of people saying, oh, she can't act or anything. And I feel like it's mostly because the only thing they know about her is that she is a conservative commentator. It's like, well, have you watched her shows? Have you watched any of the movies she was a part of? Like, if you've watched those projects and you've seen her performances, okay, please give your thoughts on it. If you haven't, and you're just making an assumption, it's like, well, hold off, please. But the trailer that came out, it was well made. It was well made. It was effective. The one problem that I think that this movie is going to have, and I think that Bent Key is going to have in general, is not going to be necessarily the content, because the content looks okay. It's more of the fact that, and I think it's a good idea that they've separated their kids stuff from the Daily Wire app proper. It is still connected though, and I think that that's something that they just have to break. And even though I think that Brett Cooper looks the part a lot more, her voice in the song and, singing the little very bit of the song that we actually heard, it sounded good. And the musical score itself also sounded good, but we just had a little bit. So that's, very little to go off of. But at the same time, even though she might be good and she might be fine, because she is a political commentator, you can't get away from that. So you've taken a kids movie that's going to be your first movie on the Bent Key platform, and you've now put one of your star conservatives, commentators in the actual starring role. Okay, now the separation you wanted to have is now gone. Yeah. Because now you've had it where, okay, people are automatically, doesn't matter what's being said about it or what's being written about it, because it is going to be perceived as conservative just from that alone. It was already going to look that way because Daily Wire is the producers behind it. Now it's even more so when you've got people like Boring and also him, Boring and also having Brett Cooper as a part of it too. So again, it's one of these mixed things where I think some people are saying certain things, trying to speak objectively when in reality it's subjective. It's a tough thing to look at, but I think it's a good idea for them as far as attention goes. And especially with, kind of fighting back a little bit about what Vader said, I don't think it's going to get a lot of views because it's still going to be behind a paywall.
Yeah.
And that's like the tough thing, is that it might bring some new subscribers, but how much are you going to be able to reach out to those that are not already a part of Daily Wire's universe, basically?
Yeah. Tom Connors, Rachel Zegler has been the target of a lot of YouTube ire lately, because a lot of her kind of like tone deaf comments are coming out, and it's affecting her casting, right? Like, people were going to cast her for movies and they're like, maybe we shouldn't do that. Now I know that the Hunger Games prequel with her in it could suffer a box office hit because of her comments. What do you think about the difference here where, like, do you think people who don't show up for Rachel Zegler might show up for Brett Cooper?
No, I don't. I really don't. And I mean, really, the only thing I agree with what Odin just said is that they do need to separate this in some way, shape, or form from Daily Wire, although I'm not sure that's possible. As far as Brett Cooper goes, please tell us anything she's been in other than Heathers, because I'm looking at her IMDb and it is as sparse can be, and it's nothing of any note. So I can't speak to her acting ability, and I thought this trailer looked atrocious. It shot at too high of a frame rate. It doesn't look like a movie. They made her look like a 40-year-old in it when she's in her 20s. She's the same age as Rachel Zegler.
She's 22. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, is she 40-something? What the hell is this? It comes off as nepotism Snow White. Like, and like, at the end of the day, the same thing about the Rachel Zegler one. Who asked for it? Nobody. We have so many fucking Snow Whites out there that I don't think anybody's going to give a shit about this one any more above the other. Now, are they getting a little bit of press because of it? Yes. And this is where I think that the better move here would have been to make some kind of parody poking fun at Disney in some kind of short, and use this short to sell their family app, going, like, have like this little 15-minute like skit where Brett Cooper's playing Snow White, and like you have all these diversity issues coming into the story 100%, like just over, like Paulie said 100%, I'm right, but yeah, like I said, just just have all this other stuff come in, then advertise your app. Maybe then people get into it, because you guys are also right about one other thing, and that is nobody has the Daily Wire app. About 1 million people subscribe to Daily Wire. Out of that million, or like 1.3 million, I think it is, how many of them actually watch any of their programming? Most of them are there just for the news. Okay. Now, are families looking for other entertainment? Yes. Now, families like Odin who know how to look for it, they'll find it, right? They're going to find it. They're going to have no problem with it. They may enjoy something like this, like this may be good for their family. That's great. But that's just a small portion of the country or the world that's going to care. At the end of the day, a lot more people are going to go see this Rachel Zegler one. A lot more people are going to hate it. And nobody's going to remember this Daily Wire movie, just like they don't remember the Gina Carano movie they did a year and a half ago or whatever it was. It's because they don't have the impact. They don't have the audience that Netflix or Disney Plus or anybody like that has.
Yeah. Charles, Daily Wire kind of has this MO where they'll have like these companies that go woke, and then they'll create competing products with the woke company specifically as like counter programming. Like they did it with Jeremy's Razors. I think they're doing it with like a.
I have a point to this too, by the way, Matt, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to give us that point, Tom?
Yeah, basically, like, I think that where Daily Wire is at right now is where DreamWorks was when Katzenberg left Disney, and they kept putting out like Deep Impact to go against Armageddon, Ants to go against Bugs Life. They kept failing and failing and failing until he finally realized, you know what? We need to quit competing with Disney and just do our own thing. And that's when they did Prince of Egypt, which was probably one of their first big hits. Then they stumbled a bit, with Spirit and Road to El Dorado. But their whole idea was now we need to start gearing it towards families. And when we say families, that means include the grown-ups too. And what came out of that was Shrek. Okay, now I'm not saying that what DW needs to do is copy Shrek, but they need to find their Shrek. Okay, they need to find their thing that everybody's gonna go, wait a minute, Disney don't have that, and that is something my kids want to see. See, and that's what I think they're at right now.
The Pendragon Chronicles do look interesting. I will say that much. The little I've seen from it does look interesting.
Well, guys, let me throw this to Charles because Charles, like when you look at Disney Snow White and the 7 magical creatures, like you can't even get more ridiculous than what they're offering. So like, what's your take on this?
It was literally when I first heard, like even before Rachel Zegler opened her stupid mouth, it sounded like a parody of what people think woke movies would be. I'm like, this is real? Like really? And I think it's also kind of rich. It's also kind of it was just so ridiculous that you're trying to do all these checkboxes and trying to make something that doesn't offend it. Like, and I agree with Tom. Who the hell asked for this? Why are we doing this? I know that Disney is basically squeezing the udders dry when it comes to all their animated to live action adaptations, but there was a down.
Yeah, let them hang themselves, CC. Exactly.
Exactly. Let them hang. But it's just like, there was no point to this. It's not even Snow White anymore. Not even just the fact that she's Snow Not So White. It's the fact that you're changing the complete story altogether. So I'm just like, why are you doing this? And to your original point, Matt, going back to kind of the competition, I think, well, first off, instead of trying to compete with Disney and making a competing Snow White, Tom, you just basically, I completely co-sign on what you said about the DreamWorks thing. It's just like, or actually, was that you, Odin? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that was Tom.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Tom, yeah. I completely agree. Do your own thing. Go to another more obscure grim fairy tale that no one's heard of. Do something like that, or another type of fairy tale. Or even, I think the thing is too, is that the fact is, if you could, the thing that they should have marketed it as is, this is a Snow White for everyone. The minute you say it's an anti-woke Snow White, that's immediately going to turn off like half the people. What you should be doing is like, this is a Snow White that is for everyone. It's for families. Push that instead of saying it's anti-woke. You're immediately saying you have a political agenda right there. People are sick of that. Doesn't matter what side of the spectrum they fall on. They just want to be entertained. We live in a Final Destination timeline right now. People just don't want that in their entertainment. They want to be entertained. They want to be taken for a ride. They want to escape. Let them do that. And by having, like you said, by having a Brett Cooper in there as your Snow White, by having it have ties to the Daily Wire, that's immediately going to be in people's minds. And it's like, this is going to have an agenda. So it's just like, I agree. It's like, make something different, try something new. Don't use one of your conservative political commentators as the lead, because that's immediately going to tie it to the Daily Wire and whatever people's perceptions of that is. Have something separate, have a clear delineation, and don't put it behind a paywall. Actually have some type of distribution channel. Do do what Taylor Swift did. She went directly to the theaters. She didn't have to use the middleman, and it worked. I don't know.
So, guys, real quick, I just want to remind everyone we're still trying to get 5 new members during the stream. If you sign up as one of our YouTube memberships, you get access to exclusive content. We put out a new members-only video every week. They're a lot of fun. It's mostly Vader just being grumpy, but everyone loves Vader being grumpy. So
I'm never grumpy.
No problem with that.
I think he's the only person online who's grumpier than I am.
Yes.
I am not grumpy. Why do you guys always say I'm
Listen to
grumpy?
me, I'm not grumpy.
You're curmudgeonly. I think they like that.
Kiss my ass, Tom.
But by the way, I love Joey's. I love Joey's comment. By the way, Disney isn't throwing spaghetti against the wall; they're throwing asparagus pasta. That's perfect.
The one defense I will give of them choosing this story is that in their minds, maybe they might be thinking, well, this is our opportunity to get attention, right? To get the press, because it sounds like Jeremy Boring loves like grim fairy tales in general. So maybe their thought was, instead of doing their own thing and getting attention that way, and this, again, we could say this is kind of like the cheat heat, cheap pop way of doing it, where it's like, we're going to get this way first, and then if we're able to get a certain number of people to join or whatever it might be, and a certain number of attention, then we can build after that. And again, I could see there's merit both ways, because both can be effective if done right. And that's the real question mark, is will it be done right?
But guys, I want to give a big shout out to Bob Dorsey for gifting 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships to the chat. Thank you so much, Bob. You've helped us hit our goal. Really appreciate that. And guys, we talked about Snow White and the 7 diversity hires, but let's talk a little bit about South Park's The Pandering, right? Vader, don't call up chats when I'm transitioning to a new segment.
Don't pull up stuff when I'm pulling things up. How do you like that?
All right, you can produce the show from now on.
Oh, here we go.
And
Okay.
guys, grumpy Vader, like I said.
Yeah.
So guys, this thing that South Park is doing is absolutely brilliant. They're basically trolling everything that Disney's doing by having an episode where Cartman, Stan, and Kenny get race and gender swapped. And it's all about the pandering, which is basically how like people are trying to inject diversity into classic stuff under the guise of being, I guess, like just or racial justice, social justice, stuff like that. So I want to go to the 2 black guys on the panel and see what they think about this. Does it speak to you? Do you guys really agree with like this tactic? Smitty, let's start with you. Like has race and gender swapping ever appealed to you in terms of your entertainment choices?
No, I don't care, as long as it's not a truthful story. If it's a fairy tale, who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are stories for children, and the only people who care are adults. if it's an older white dude who plays, I don't know, I can't think of anybody, right? Robin Hood or an elderly black man, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Just tell a good story. I do not care. I mean, every generation is going to have its thing, and as we get older, we're not going to see eye to eye with what the new generation does. It's just how getting old happens. Like, that's a thing. So these people writing stories and telling them the way that they want to tell them, because the newer generation has different morals, and they grow up with these different values and stuff like that. I don't care. Tell a good story. Do I like watching the stories that I grew up with disappear? No, but things change. That's the way life goes. That's how it happens. So I don't want to see it, but it's a part of life. So that's my opinion.
Charles, has there ever been a movie that has race and gender swap that you actually liked?
I have to think about this. I
like The Wiz.
I like The Wiz. The Wiz was good.
I honestly, for me personally, I mean, sometimes, again, it's nice when you see some, like, it was never a big thing for me when I was growing up. I didn't have to see somebody of color in every single movie. Like, that wasn't the thing. It's nice. It was nice when it's just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Finally somebody. But it's just like, it was never something that drove me. It didn't take me out of the movie if there was like nobody of color there. I was just like, whatever, fine. I like the movie, I like the story. It's like, if the characters are solid, I don't want somebody in the movie if they're just going to check off a box. I want them to be a meaningful character. I don't just want them to be a token. I want them to have an impact. Like, for instance, a good example is the Kevin Costner Robin Hood, which I love that movie. I don't care what anyone says. I thought Morgan Freeman was fantastic in that movie. And I was shocked when I heard that he wasn't he was an American. I was like, really? Because I actually hadn't really seen him in anything at that point. I wasn't really watching, those types of dramas that he was in. So I thought he was great. He was one of the best characters in the film. He stole the show in every scene he was in. And just that stuff like that. But I want somebody who actually is there. I don't just want somebody who's going to be the black, trans, two spirits person just to check off all the boxes and make, all the activist groups happy. It's like, no, is this person going to matter? Is this person impact the script? Are they just the black up, or they actually have their own agency? They have a story that leads to other stuff going on. So that's what I care about.
And that seems to be what South Park is lampooning, is because they believe Disney is just, they don't really care about minorities or representation.
Oh, no.
They're just doing it almost as a stunt. So Tom Connors,
yeah.
You're pretty
May I add something? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
you.
Go
I just
ahead.
wanted to add something about Disney. So it was interesting because one of the basically ABC News was all about Black Lives Matter or all this, and putting it on their site and whatever. But one of their hosts on The View was writing a memoir, and they, on the down low, told her, "Hey, can you take out all the stuff that makes us look racist?" And she had to lawyer up in order for them to back off. So there you go. They don't care.
Yep. And Tom, South Park has lampooned Disney in the past, but this one seems very targeted, and it seems like Paramount is more than happy to put this out there to kind of put a focus on Disney being idiots. What's your take on this?
Well, I think it goes beyond Disney, but yeah, they're probably the primary suspects here, I guess. Let's be real. But yeah, no, this is a move in the right direction. Matt and Trey can do whatever the hell they want. They always have. Now they have more FU money than they've ever had in their lives after that $1 billion deal, basically. I mean, it was just under $1 billion, but hey, who's counting? I think this is going to be hilarious. I've been seeing a few of the outlets freaking out about it, trying to call it out and make it sound like it's not that big of a deal, but it's going off of what CC was just saying and such like that when I brought up the Wiz. The whole point is that they're going to make is that they're not doing anything new. This is stuff that's been done 1 million times before. It's not bringing anything new to the table. All they're doing is virtue signaling. As I've pointed out before, it's no different than the old circus freaks, where they would literally use the circus freaks to draw you into the freak show. It's the same kind of thing here. Only the sad part is until, people start saying, hey, I'm not going to be your circus freak anymore, nothing's going to change, right? That's the problem. And a good example of that is, I don't know if you guys caught Mr. H Reviews talk with Director X, but the guy who does that Canadian Robin Hood show with a Y. Basically, I got from him what I get from a lot of people I talk to sometimes in the industry. There's 3 types. There's people who have bought into this hook, line, and sinker. There's the other side of it who don't, but are too afraid to say anything or speak up because they know they're going to get canceled. And then there's that third party, and that third party is, I don't give a fuck as long as there's money in it, right? They'll do whatever the hell they want just so they can get in, right? And that's what I got out of Director X. Now, not directly, but he said he came in with an idea that was more like A-Team, and he walked out with a CW show called Robin Hood, right? If that's not the ultimate selling your soul for Hollywood, or in this case, Canadian Hollywood, I don't know what is, but
Canada would.
Canada would. Yeah, I would have picked up my A-Team show and said, well, I guess you guys aren't interested in this, and walked out, right? That's just me. But at the end of the day, I get it. A paycheck's a paycheck. People got to eat. If I was in his situation and shoes, I can't say that I wouldn't necessarily do the same. But look, it is what it is at the end of the day. And until people start calling it out, it's not going to change. And that's why people like Ava DuVernay continue to have a career in Hollywood, right? Because she can guilt people into giving her career, right? And if that's what your career is based on, then, well, I guess at the end of all these strikes, you're probably going to find yourself working at McDonald's. I think a lot of these people are, unless it's Disney. See, I think
like Lady Loki.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is I can agree with Odin to a point, because even though we were having just a little back and forth about the whole Marvel thing in the back, I don't know. I'm not so sure about the Marvel situation, but I totally agree with him as far as Disney as a whole. They definitely bought into this shit, and they're not going away anytime soon. And I hope this South Park episode is a bit of a black eye on them, just like it has been in the past. Because if anybody can do it, it's Trey and Matt. And they have been firing on all cylinders since Streaming Wars specials. So I can't wait for this one. And this is next week already here. It's just actually a week away exactly, isn't it? I think, or
It's like they're how
Marvels?
many?
It's the 10th, right?
I think it's the 27th that comes out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Vader.
I don't know. I was. It's like they're pushing as many buttons as they can because they're probably tired and want to retire, and they want to get themselves canceled. So they're doing everything they can to get taken off the air, right? So
they say that, but then they keep signing up for it.
I'm looking forward to
it's
this.
Like, no, we don't want to do this anymore. What's this? $1 billion? Fuck. I guess we're doing this some more.
Okay.
And it is October 28th.
Yeah, the Marvels is coming off on the 10th. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
wasn't talking about the Marvels. I was talking about the South Park.
Yeah, South Park's the 28th.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I want to throw this to Odin because Odin, this kind of like diversity plague has kind of infected every arm of Disney. You have Marvel, you have Lucasfilm, you have Pixar. Like pretty much every Disney property has been. They've gone full Netflix essentially with their diversity and inclusion initiatives, and South Park. As soon as South Park starts lampooning something, it's hit critical mass, right? Because like they inject that into pop culture. I haven't watched South Park in like decades, but like a lot of people still watch South Park, and when they start bringing attention to something, it starts gaining mainstream consciousness, right? So, what's your take on how you think South Park lampooning this is going to affect how Disney actually casts their stuff?
Well, I mean, even though South Park has always been, geared towards older audiences, or at the very least teens, like, teenagers and up, it has always had that capacity and that ability to transcend it, right? To, as you mentioned, kind of become a part of the pop culture conversation because they have it, right? They'll have that conversation when most other people won't. They will say things and do things that are seen as so taboo, and they will even do it at personal risk. I still remember the controversy surrounding their episode dealing with Muhammad and all that stuff. It was just like they've always just been on that edge, and even in their seasons and their shows or their episodes where it hasn't been as strong as storytelling. I think some people would maybe argue the integrity storyline went on too long. Even in things like that, though, I loved it. Like, I was still loving every episode, and I was always having fun with it. And it's so funny because my mom, who hated the fact that my older brother watched Beavis and Butthead when I was growing up, never wanted us to watch South Park because it just looked nasty and it looked, potty mouth, all this other stuff. She, when we were, college age, started to actually watch the episodes when we were watching them together as like family. Like, we would come together during our breaks and watch them together. She would be listening, and she finally realized, oh, there's actually a message in every single episode. And so it came to the point where my family, all of us, my mom, my dad, and all my siblings, whenever we were in town together, we would be watching South Park together as a family. So the fact that it became a family show, not because of just, again, the potty humor, but because there is this message that's always there, and it's always one where it's like, again, that commentary that people are just hungry for, right? Because, yeah, I think this is a great example, right? We have all known and been aware of them putting, of doing these castings where it's very clearly pandering, but most people, when we talk about it, are either, talking about it from one specific political perspective or are maybe kind of missing the point. And that's what I love about South Park is that they don't typically take sides. They make fun of everybody. So I think that they're going to have characters probably in the episode that are the typical, like, more conservative, like how dare they take away our character? But then they're also going to be going after the others who are out of ideas and are like, oh, we have nothing. How about we turn the character black or turn the character into a woman or do whatever it might
Well, what's
need to
even
be.
more hilarious is the only one who doesn't get changed is Stan.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
mean, Kyle.
Yeah.
Sorry, not Stan. Kyle,
Yeah,
because
Kyle,
he's
yeah.
Jewish.
He's Jewish. Yeah.
He's already Jewish. Yeah. I'm waiting for the part in the episode where Cartman shows back up and he goes, "What's this bullshit? He just gets to say because he's a Jew. That's stupid." Just freaking out. Yeah. But no, I agree with you, Odin. Like, they've been firing on all cylinders, especially since they got back. Because they had stumbled for a bit there after Trump came into office. Because you could tell that season was set up for Hillary to win.
Mm-hmm.
And when they had to send Garrison to the Oval Office, they're like, shit. So that they kind of stumbled a bit. But then when they got to that streaming wars special, they
Yeah.
really started to hit their stride. This last season, oh my God. If you guys have not seen this last season, you need to see it. They
Pretty
hit
great.
almost every note that we talk about as far as a lot of these social commentaries and how they attach themselves to entertainment and all that business.
Mhm.
And just them killing Winnie the Pooh and all that kind of stuff and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, oh my God, it's hilarious. The last few years, you guys would totally get the jokes. I mean, I don't know if they listen to us, but you can tell they definitely are guys like us, right? Like they really are into the same kind of things. They think a lot of the same ways, and they just are like, you know what, we've had enough of this shit too. And that's kind of like the COVID specials weren't as good, but after that they got better.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of where they hit that bridge. And yeah.
All right, guys. So we've covered a lot of political topics here. So let's get even more political when talking about rebooting Star Wars.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
good
Jesus.
Lord.
All right. Matt
Next.
Vader 74. This article came out recently with Matthew Vaughn, who's got a movie coming out, but he basically kind of stuck his foot in his mouth and basically said, why does everyone care about Star Wars? If I could do it, I'm just going to reboot it.
Yeah.
I'm going to use all the characters, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Darth Vader, and I'm just going to recast them and do my own thing with them.
Mhm.
Obviously he's not, actually directing a Star Wars thing, but a lot of people have been saying like Star Wars has gotten so bad that they should just reboot it and start over. So what's your take on this?
My take is, I told you I'm not talking about Star Wars anymore on the podcast. Yeah, this is
More
just another
power
one.
to you.
This is just another one of those articles where some director went on a podcast and said some shit, and now they want everybody to talk about it. It's like, yeah, a director is going to go on and say, yeah, if I had Star Wars, I would completely reboot it and let the chips fall where they may. It was like a Ryan Johnson comment. It's like, people are going to go crazy and I don't care. I just do what I want. Let the chips fall where they are. It's like, okay, well, you're never going to do a Star Wars movie, so it doesn't fucking matter what you say. And that's all I got out of that. I don't care what these people have to say, and I don't care about Star Wars anymore, and I don't want to talk about Star Wars anymore. So it was a nonsense article. So there you go. That's what I have to say
Well,
about it.
hopefully Smitty wants to talk about Star Wars because Smitty, do you think Star Wars should be rebooted?
No, I don't. Did you hear the pain in Vader's voice just now?
Yeah,
You need to change.
I
Your
hear it
name,
every
Vader.
day.
You need to change your name, Vader.
I've been trying. People won't let me.
It's too late for me, son.
Yeah,
Maybe you.
that's where you're at. That's where I'm at.
Nice.
That's where I'm at.
Star Wars has been my favorite, since I was a kid. I grew up on it, but they have absolutely screwed the pooch with this. Like they've driven it into the ground, and they did it for just the nostalgia instead of trying to tell a good story. So they've screwed it. It's done at this point. Now they have to go back and try to make like prequels and all this other stuff to try to fill in gaps to make new stories, and it's ridiculous at this point. And they should just let the old story alone. If you're going to do something, just start over, create new characters, come up with a new idea, and you can still put it in the Star Wars like world. Just do it with different people. Every story does not have to have a Luke, like a Skywalker or a Palpatine or Vader. Just tell
There are no
something else.
Skywalkers left, Smitty.
Somehow
killed him all.
Palpatine is returned.
No, Palpatine won. The bloodline won. She is a Palpatine. People don't even think about it. Even though she took the Skywalker name, bitch is a Palpatine.
That's a good point.
Palpatine won this whole thing.
She pulled a
Did.
Don Draper.
Completely killed Luke's arc, everything. They ruined it, and they didn't for nostalgia. And I hated what they did to it. So no, I don't think they should reboot it. I think they should just, do something else and leave Star Wars alone. Let it die.
Kill it.
Kill it if you have to.
We don't
this
quote
is-
The Last Jedi on the show.
This
guys.
is some of the greatest 4D chess in the world. That's all I know. I know, like, I'm going to agree with Matt on this real quick. I just got to say, like, this is just some idiot on a podcast being Matt Vaughn in this point. So that's why people are listening to him. And he's just telling us what he would do when it comes to Star Wars. Who cares, right? If it's true, though, because we have talked about this many a time. Odin's been a part of these conversations. You guys have, as far as the Salty Nerd Guides and everything, where, Disney's just going to reboot or remake the original trilogy. How many times have we gotten into that debate? And at least some of us are under the impression that chances are during the sale, there was a deal made that they cannot touch the original films. George Lucas has made that very clear, and until he's probably long gone, dead in the grave, can they do anything with those movies? In fact, because I'm under the impression they can't even release anything but the special editions because of that. See, that's the other thing. Because I guarantee you, Disney, they know right now they could print money. All they'd have to do is throw out the original Star Wars trilogy unaltered, and they'd have the biggest selling Blu-ray of all times, right? But we've also come to this point where I've realized we got at best 2.5, maybe 3 or 3.5 good Star Wars movies, and the rest of it is shit, right? It's like Aliens at this point. You got 2 good movies, the rest of it is garbage. Is it really a franchise anymore?
Yeah.
No. You guys are right. They have killed it. Vader doesn't even want to talk about it anymore, and it's in his fucking name. It's in his name.
Yeah. Look,
EBN is turned around and they're deciding they've been talking about it for a while, but they're not going to be doing all Star Wars stuff anymore because it's dead. Disney has killed it.
Look, the original trilogy had a profound effect on me when I was a child. But the original trilogy was done when I was 12. Okay. If you go back and you look at these movies, and you grade these movies, and you look at anybody's list that has any kind of sense of normalcy and reality, the graph goes like this: Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then all the other shit down here.
Yeah,
Star Wars as a franchise is not that good, except for this
new shit was so bad that it made people go, you know what? The prequels weren't bad. That's how bad this shit is.
I say this every week. I am tired of talking about this franchise until they make it better again, and they're never going to make it better again because it's owned by a bunch of hacks over at Disney. I'm done. I'm over it. I want a new name. I do. I want a new name. I'm going to change it to pork chop salad or something stupid, and maybe that'll work. I don't know, but I'm just fucking over it, man. I'm getting
Choose a better franchise.
So angry.
Choose a better franchise. Maybe Matt Sauron.
Yeah. That's why I'm diving into Japanese stuff.
I'm with Dennis. What is it with Matt and all these micro Star Wars aggressions with us today?
It's a trigger word for Matt. We shouldn't say it anymore. Do you mind if I weigh in?
Well, hold on. I just want to say Pork Chop 74. I like that new name.
Pork Chop
salad. Okay, Charles, let us have it.
So the thing is that I agree with Matt. Like, probably one of the first movies that I was in, and I don't even remember it, was The Return of the Jedi. And I'm sure it had a profound effect on me. I remember watching Star Wars as a kid, and it was one of the big reasons why I became a writer, because I loved science fiction, because it was my gateway into science fiction. And the prequels were not good. In Matt's right. Like, for me, the joy that I mostly had, other than the original movies, was the expanded universe. I loved what they were able to do with the books. The Hand of Thrawn trilogy would have been the perfect sequel trilogy. It's all right there. You have so many directions they could have gone. You don't have to do it directly, but there's so many things that they could have done, and they chose whatever the hell that was as their thing. Because when you take a step back and you look at The Force Awakens, it was not a good movie. It was built on nostalgia. It was not a good movie. It was just basically a New Hope 2.0 with just not as charismatic characters. And I mean, it's sad because I used to love that franchise, and I don't give a crap anymore. I really don't. Like, they can just, and the sad thing about it, each of the things they keep doing, whether it be The Mandalorian now, whether it be Ahsoka, which sucked, they realize that they cannot get escape velocity away from the Skywalkers or the original trilogy. And it just reminds you how much better it was than any of the other dog shit that they have out there. And I feel, honestly, if you're going to do a new Star Wars or just reboot the universe, don't reboot the original trilogy. Do something new. But they don't have the talent to do that. They have to they have to ride off the coattails of the original trilogy and then try and make it their own. But I'd say, honestly, either just kill it or do something completely new in that universe that's completely separate from the Skywalker saga. It's a big universe. Do it in a different corner. I don't want to hear about the freaking Empire anymore, the Resistance, the Rebellion. Even just when I was watching Ahsoka, they had to make, and that's the thing, is that no matter what they do post original trilogy, we all know where it's going to lead. We all know where it's going to end. So there's no point. Kill it or do something new.
So Odin, I think as film aficionados, you and I, we're big on film history, right? So in about 10 years, when we look back, we'll be able to see very plainly how Disney destroyed some of the most popular franchises in movie history systematically with their very poor decisions. And I know that like we've heard from our inside sources that Lucasfilm is so kind of like stuck on not touching the original trilogy that they won't let any of the people pitching them on new Star Wars content really do the things that need to happen to save this franchise. They're stuck with going backwards. So what do you think there's anything Disney can do at this point to right the ship when it comes to Star Wars?
Not with the people currently running it. I think there's just no chance for them to be able to do it. I think Kathleen Kennedy has just proven that she is clueless when it comes to creativity because she has none. And she gives the reins to people that also just share in that lack of creativity as well. And it just kind of reminds me of just kind of the overall conversation about this, that my son, baby Thor, his first movie, the first movie that he ever watched from beginning to end was Star Wars. And it was the OG Star Wars too, right? Shout out to the specialized editions that are out there and the communities that have been a part of creating those versions, preserving those versions as well, because my son now only knows the original trilogy as it was originally meant to be seen. So he's always seen Han shoot first. He's always seen and always known. And it was funny because at one point, my wife was home and I was not, and she couldn't get the version working. And so she had to actually play the specialized version. And so this extra scene that happens with Java when it's completely CGI, my son goes, "What's this?" like just this 3-year-old is just like, "Mom, what is this?" Because he had never seen it before. And so I think about that, and I think, am I going to expose him to any of the other stuff? And no, I'm not. I won't let him watch the prequels until he's older, because I just agreed to a point. I think the prequels are great. I just think it's because they're funny. They're so bad that they're hilarious. But he needs to be older before he's going to get and understand how bad it is and how bad the acting and stuff like that, something that a kid wouldn't really understand. And the only thing other than that I'll defend Disney in one area. There's one area that as far as Star Wars is concerned, they're doing great. One area. And it is, they are redoing the audiobooks for some of the EU content, EU stories. So they're doing the entire X-Wing series of novels. And they got Mark Thompson doing the voice. And Mark Thompson, if you've never heard his work, he's phenomenal. He gets the voices down like almost darn near perfect. His original Thrawn, by the way, in the novels was just like perfection. And they went with this very like airy voice instead with the series, and then eventually with Ahsoka. And it was like, this is not Thrawn. This is not how I heard it from him. So I will at least give them that they're doing a good job. Now, again, I doubt that they have as much control over that as maybe some of the other areas, but that's like the only good thing associated with Disney Star Wars that has been any good is their reproduction of the older stories that's a part of the EU. The only path they really have is to, I think, put a break on things, put a hold on things, and then finally figure out what the heck they're going to do, and then do something good. Until then, they should just stop. They should just keep making the audiobooks instead, and they should kind of let the past die, as it were, because what they've created has been awful.
No dad bod Thrawn.
If only Disney had source material that they could adapt into Star Wars stuff, but unfortunately, it doesn't exist.
I feel like I had the same conversation 3 years ago, and 2 years ago, and 6 months ago, and 2 weeks ago, and it's just like I can't do it anymore.
Well, Pork Chop 74, don't worry, we don't have to talk about it.
Thank you.
In fact, we're going to go and say a big thank you to Jillian N for gifting 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. Jillian,
You
thank
hit
you so
your
much.
goal.
Yes. We
Doubled
actually hit our goal with Bob. We doubled it. Yay! Bob Dorsey for $10. Not to get political, but Daily Wire is as conservative as Bud Light is to beer. They are kind of neoconish, I guess you could call them.
Mainstream.
Yes. Bob Dorsey for $10. They tried to retire 6 or do years back and the internet rose and challenged to keep them from doing so. South Park is the only thing that is uniquely untouchable. Yeah, so like I guess Matt and Trey tried to retire 6 years or so ago, and everyone was like, no, don't retire. And then they were like, okay. But
well, I know they've said that they'll never do Book of Mormon while they're still making South Park.
Yeah.
Because they've been bugged to make a movie of that for years, but they just won't.
Gavin Blackburn, member chat, any reboot would be worse than the original. This is probably true.
Especially from Matthew Vaughn.
Oh, yeah. And Fluffy Panda for $5. Spot effing on. The book universe was amazing. Thrawn, Jedi Academy, X-Wing series. And they killed it. Turned a $1 billion franchise into a dying mess.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
they don't have any books or comic books. You're crazy. Nothing.
We had no
there.
source materials.
What are you talking about?
And I got to say something about that one quote you said, Matt, because I don't understand where they feel like they're hampered by the original trilogy, because all they have to do is go beyond it, right? This is what I don't understand. They started in the right direction. They've been the ones meandering in this post Return of the Jedi era and not moving beyond it. That's them. I don't understand. And the Rogue One era. That's the only two eras they seem to want to hang out in for some reason.
Well, they're so creatively bankrupt that they can't come up with new stuff. And the time that they tried to do new stuff, we got the sequel trilogy.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah.
Anyway, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about. I want to thank you all for being here and our fantastic panel of nerds. Thank you all so much. I know Brian threw us for a loop at the last minute, so big thanks to Tom and Charles for stepping in for us. Odin, where can people find more of you, and do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, check me out over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, Twitter, etc. And I just recently launched my new stream schedule, so I'm not streaming on Saturdays anymore, just because of wanting to have more time with family and such. So check me out every Tuesday from 7:30 p.m. That's a change as well, 7:30 to 9. And we're going to have a lot of fun conversations about movies, pop culture, and box office, of course. And final thoughts would be, I'm interested to see what happens with this Daily Wire film. If they can make it work, great. If they can't, hey, another missed opportunity. And I think that if it's as big of a failure as it could be, because I'm not denying that it can't be, but if it does end up being that kind of a failure, I don't know how they sustain continuing going forward, to be honest.
All right. And Tom Connors Jr. from Midnight's Edge. Do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Well, my final thoughts are...
I like turtles.
And you can always find me on Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark and wherever else fine weed can be sold, I guess. I don't know.
Smoke weed every day.
I like this guy.
Thank you for hopping on the stream today, Tom. And Charles, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you and your books?
People can find me on Amazon.com, CCEKEKE. Look for the Pantheon Saga. Good superhero stuff, not sanitized, good shit. My final thoughts are, if you find an original genre, movie, film, TV show, sing it to the hills. Because if we're tired of all this crap, this corporate crap by these bean counters who don't have a lick of creativity in their pinky, promote the original, the smaller guys who are putting out good content. Sing it to the hills. Let everyone know about it, because the only way things will change up top in the bigger things is if people go to where the good original content is. That's what we need to do. We need to really support them. We need to abandon these franchises that are too big to fail, like the Star Wars, like the Star Trek, like probably even Marvel right now, and go to things that actually work. Those are things that actually are entertaining, that take us away, that do what they're supposed to in terms of entertainment. So those are my final thoughts.
All right. Thank you, Charles. And Smitty, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully your first time on the panel hasn't turned you off to future appearances. But
I'm
big
glad we were gentle.
Big congratulations on hitting 1,000 subscribers. Everyone out there, be sure to subscribe to Smitty Snippets. His link is in the description, as well as all the links to all the articles we talked about today. Smitty, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
You can find me on YouTube. I'm not hard to find. I talk about movies, shows. Right now, I'm doing Invasion. That's almost done. So I think I'm going to try and find another show to talk about and some more movies. My final thought is, please stop rebooting things. Get new content, come up with a fantastic story, and go tell it. Get creative. Find something else to do. Stop messing up old shit. Come up with new shit. That's it.
It's a very simple rule to follow, but Hollywood doesn't seem to be able to do it. Anyway, Matt Porkchop 74. What do we got going on? What do we got going on this week?
What do we got going on this week? We have our Shining review that we just dropped yesterday, which was a lot of fun. We have a little fun little video at the front of that.
It's great.
Yeah. And so, next week we have a review of the classic Alien coming out, the very first Alien movie. You know, that horror movie. I'm sorry. I am just completely lost my mind right now. I'm kind of like not even here. And we also have our continuing saga of the Invasion show coming out.
Yes. Yeah. And for everyone out there wondering, Smitty will be joining us for our review of the finale of season 2.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to having him on there for that.
Cannot wait.
And we've discovered that Star Wars is now Matt Vader's kryptonite. So anytime you want to defeat him, just start talking about Star Wars, and he will wither.
It's stupid. Star Wars is stupid. It's dumb, and it needs to just go away. All right, I'm so over it. It's just.
I agree.
And you know what? I'm keeping Vader. It's mine. Fuck them. Okay, it's mine.
Okay, Michael Bolton.
Whatever.
All right, guys. I want to give a big shout out to Jillian N and Bob Dorsey. Thank you all so much for gifting those memberships today, and to all of our super chatters: Mexican Iron Man, Gavin Blackburn, Bob Dorsey, the Joker's Voice, Beard, and Fluffy Panda. Guys, thank you so much for your generosity. Really appreciate all the support you guys give the channel. And to everyone in the chat, thank you all for showing up and participating. And hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. And be sure to tune in next week, same salty time, same salty channel, as we have brand new guest, and hopefully Brian will be back so that we can give him a hard time for leaving us hanging this week. But special thanks to Tom Connors and CCAKK for stepping in for Brian, and also subscribe to Smitty. He's awesome. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Stay salty, my friends.